In 1910, Ellen Biddle Shipman was in a bind. Her husband Louis took off for London, leaving her to raise their 3 children alone. In this video, I'm going to tell the story of how Ellen Biddle Shipman went from being the wife left behind to a pioneering landscape designer. I first learned about Ellen Biddle Shipman during a visit to Stan Hewitt. Stan Hewitt was the home of F.A. Sieberling and his wife, Gertrude. Sieberling was one of the co-founders of the Goodyear Rubber and Tire Company. They used their fortune to build their Tudor Revival-style home. Stan Hewitt is located outside of Akron, Ohio, in the United States. As you can imagine, the house and the grounds are vast. And although there are many beautiful gardens, there is one garden in particular that captured my attention, the walled English garden by the house. You approach the entrance to the garden through a gated entrance at the foot of steps leading into the walled garden. This entrance immediately brought to mind the book, The Secret Garden. And I could remember the quote. It was the sweetest, most mysterious-looking place anyone could imagine. Stan Hewitt's English garden was originally conceived in 1915 by the renowned landscape architect Warren Manning. The walled English garden was Gertrude Sieberling's favorite garden refuge. And once I walked through that entrance, I understood why. The garden was completely secluded from the outside world. Once you stepped through that gate, you were in your own secret world. There was a large reflecting pond surrounded by formal hedging, and the flowers in the space were pastel colored, and you could hear the light sound of water dropping from the central water feature, which was a fountain statue called the Garden of the Water Goddess. I learned that the English garden at Stan Hewitt was redesigned in 1929. Warren Manning had suggested that the Sieberlings hire Ellen Biddle Shipman to redesign the garden. There's a copy of Shipman's perennial planting plan at the second entrance that you can study. I was captivated. I always love looking at detailed planting plans, and the one that was posted by the entrance was incredibly detailed. On the way back to our car, we stopped in the gift shop at Stan Hewitt, and I purchased the book, The Gardens of Ellen Biddle Shipman, written by Judith Tankard. In the book, I learned that Ellen Biddle Shipman was one of the first female landscape designers. She received an informal apprenticeship from an architect named Charles Platt. It was Platt that gave Shipman her first opportunities to flex her garden design skills. Shipman would later go on to design over 600 gardens for the leading industrialists of the age, including names like the DuPonts, the Astors, Henry and Edsel Ford, to name a few. Pretty incredible when you think about it for a woman who had to become a garden designer because her husband left her with her 3 kids. Ellen Biddle Shipman's garden plans are housed in the archives at Cornell University, and many of the plans are accessible online. I'll be sure to leave links in the description of this video if anyone's interested in studying the plans in detail. It was fascinating to see how detailed the planting plans were that Shipman created. She included detailed notes and often wrote 3-dimensional sketches so that she could properly show her clients what the garden was intended to look like. Shipman's #1 principle of garden design can be summed up from a quote taken from her garden notebook. In her notebook, she wrote, "This point cannot be too strongly stressed and will be reiterated and reiterated until the reader grasps the point that privacy is the most essential attribute of any garden." As I started studying all of the plans, I could see that Shipman repeated certain design elements. I think they were part of her signature style, if you would. The gardens were typically formal in layout, with incredibly dense planting schemes. It wasn't unusual to see plants with over 10 or 15 varieties of peonies alone. And there was always a garden structure included, like this tea house in the English garden at the Henry Ford estate. Do you think Clara Ford knew that the exact tea house design could be found at Hamilton Farms? Privacy was the most essential design element of any Shipman garden, and she created this privacy by surrounding the gardens with high stone walls and evergreen hedging. Almost every plan that I looked at included some type of a water feature, a fountain or a lily pond, or in the case of the garden at Stan Hewitt, a large reflecting pool. There was typically a change in level throughout the garden, and Shipman frequently included rounded steps to move from level to level. This is actually a design element that could be seen in the designs of Gertrude Sieberling as well. I found a few advertisements that Shipman made in magazines, like this one from 1911, where she advertised as a garden expert from Cornish Hills, New Hampshire. She will make and supervise working plans and planting of gardens, and for small gardens, will make suggestions or sketches by mail. I have to say, I'm pretty impressed with Ellen Biddle Shipman's story. It couldn't have been easy to start a career as a female landscape designer back when she did, and yet her career spanned some 35 years, and she created over 600 gardens for some of the most influential people of her age. Of all the lessons that Shipman can teach us, I think the biggest one that strikes to me is from a quote from one of her clients, Henry Ford, who said, "One of the greatest discoveries a man makes, one of his great surprises, is to find that he can do what he was afraid he couldn't do." And certainly, Shipman can teach us that. So hit me up in the comments below and let me know what you think of Ellen Biddle Shipman. That's it for this video, friends. I'll see you in the next one.
Anywhere, feel like